The rain was pouring down relentlessly outside, drumming against the window panes and sending shivers down Sarah's spine. She pulled the heavy curtains closed, plunging her small apartment into an unsettling darkness. The flickering light from the street lamp outside did little to chase away the shadows that seemed to dance menacingly on the walls. She tried to focus on her dinner, but the aroma of the food, couldn't it mask the metallic scent of fear that had begun to permeate her clothes, her hair, her very being? Her hands trembled as she picked up the letter, its edges already damp from the moisture seeping through the envelope. She recognized her own handwriting on the front, the same flowing script that had become both her solace and torment. But there was no date, no signature, just the chilling message scrawled in black ink. Your next nightmare will be on Tuesday at exactly 4:23 p.m. Tuesday. Sarah looked up sharply, her heart hammering against her ribs like a frantic bird. The clock on the wall showed 3:57 p.m. Just 3 minutes until her next nightmare began. How much time do I have left? Four eyes came and went, and with it, a wave of relief washed over Sarah, only to be replaced by a prickle of unease. Where was her nightmare? Had it been a false alarm? Then she heard it, a soft, measured tapping coming from the window. Her blood turned to ice as she saw the silhouette of a man outlined against the dim light outside. He was tall and thin, his face obscured by the shadows. The tapping continued, insistent and rhythmic, and Sarah found herself frozen in place, unable to move, unable to scream. The tapping grew louder, more urgent, and suddenly the window pane shattered. The man outside smiled, revealing a set of teeth that were too sharp, too numerous, and Sarah screamed. As she stumbled back, knocking over her chair in her haste, she could only watch in paralyzed terror as the creature slipped through the broken window. It moved with unnatural speed, crossing the room in a few long strides and reaching for her, its eyes glowing red in the darkness, fixed on her like a predator eyeing its prey. Sarah ran, her bare feet pounding against the cold hardwood floor. She could hear the creature moving behind her, its breathing heavy, its footsteps echoing her own. She could feel its presence like a suffocating cloud, closing in on her, enveloping her. The bathroom door loomed ahead, and with a burst of adrenaline, she flung it open and locked herself inside. She leaned against the cool, smooth surface of the tiles, trying to catch her breath, to calm the wild hammering of her heart. But even here, in this tiny enclosed space, she could feel the creature's malevolent presence pressing against the flimsy barrier of the door. Then she heard a scratching sound, persistent, determined. The creature was trying to break in. Sarah screamed again, the sound echoing her terror, bouncing off the cold, hard walls. This time, the creature didn't come in. Instead, she heard a voice, raspy and cold, speaking from the other side of the door. Don't worry, Sarah. I'm not here to hurt you. I'm here to help you. Help me. Those two words hung in the air, mocking her, daring her to believe them. But what if it wasn't a threat? What if it was a warning? Curiosity, like a forbidden fruit, began to tempt Sarah. She cautiously approached the door and pressed her ear against the cool metal. The scratching had stopped. All she could hear was the creature's heavy breathing and a low growl that sent shivers down her spine. Taking a deep breath, Sarah slowly began to unlock the door. Each click of the mechanism seemed to amplify in the heavy silence, each second stretching into an eternity. Finally, the door swung open and Sarah stepped out, her eyes wide and apprehensive. In the dim light filtering in from the hallway, she saw a sight that made her gasp. The creature was gone, vanished without a trace. In its place was a single white envelope lying on the floor. Sarah stared at it for a moment, her mind struggling to comprehend what she had just seen and heard. Was it real, or a figment of her overactive imagination? With trembling hands, she picked up the letter and broke the seal. Inside, she found a message written in the same flowing script she used. "Congratulations, Sarah. You survived your first test. There are 5 more to go." Below that, another line, almost like an afterthought. "And remember, you won't be alone." Suddenly, Sarah felt a presence behind her. A cold, predatory gaze that made the hairs on the back of her neck stand on end. She whirled around, her heart leaping into her throat, but she saw nothing. The apartment was empty, the windows and doors securely locked, yet she could still feel that unseen presence watching her, waiting for her. As days turned into nights and the city outside slumbered into uneasy dreams, Sarah found herself trapped in a waking nightmare. The creature, whatever it was, had become an ominous constant in her life, appearing and disappearing at will, leaving behind cryptic messages that foretold her every fear. The second letter arrived on Wednesday, tucked under her door as she stepped out for a brief respite from the suffocating dread that had become her new reality. "Your next nightmare will be when the sun sets on Wednesday." The third missive came on Thursday. "At the stroke of midnight tonight, your worst fear will come to life. And then on Friday, when the last train departs, your darkest secret will be revealed." Each letter brought with it a new terror, a fresh layer of hell that Sarah had to navigate. And with each passing day, the line between sanity and madness became a thinner and thinner sheet of ice. By Saturday, Sarah was a shadow of her former self, her eyes hollow, her movements robotic, her thoughts fragmented. She could feel the creature's presence all around her, in the creaks of her aging apartment building, in the whispers of the wind outside, in the very fabric of her being. Then, on Sunday, as the final letter warned, "Your final nightmare awaits at the crossroads of your fears," Sarah realized with a jolt that she was no longer running from a monster. She was running to one. Each letter had been a breadcrumb, leading her closer to her doom, not away from it. She remembered the scratching at the bathroom door, the creature's raspy voice, the promise to help her. Hadn't those been clues? The creature hadn't been a harbinger of her nightmares. It had been their source. It had been trying to warn her. And the final letter, it wasn't a threat. It was an invitation. With trembling hands, Sarah clutched the letter close, her eyes glistening with tears. She knew where she had to go. The crossroads of her fears was the abandoned amusement park on the outskirts of town, a place she had vowed never to return to after the tragic accident that had claimed her parents' lives. But what awaited her there? As Sarah stood at the entrance to the dilapidated park, the rusted chains of the Ferris wheel creaking overhead, she knew she was not alone. The creature was there, watching her, waiting for her. She could feel its malevolent presence like a physical force pushing her forward, urging her to go deeper into the heart of her fears. Then she saw it, perched atop the skeletal remains of the carousel, its eyes glowing red in the darkness, its form shifting and swirling like smoke in the wind. Sarah screamed, the sound catching in her throat and dying there. The creature glided down from its perch, descending into the darkness below. Sarah watched, mesmerized, her feet rooted to the ground, her body heavy as lead. As the creature drew closer, its features began to sharpen, taking on a semblance of human form. And in that instant, Sarah gasped. She recognized the face that was leering at her, the cruel smile, the sharp, predatory eyes. It was her own reflection staring back at her from the abyss. And then she understood. The creature, the letters, they were all her. She was the monster. She was the curse. With a final surge of adrenaline, Sarah turned and fled, racing through the maze of abandoned attractions, the creature hot on her heels. She could hear its heavy breathing behind her, the pounding of its footsteps echoing her own. She ran blindly, desperately, seeking an escape that didn't exist. For how could she outrun herself? Suddenly the ground beneath her feet gave way, and Sarah tumbled down into the darkness, landing hard on the cold, unforgiving ground. As the darkness closed in around her, she could hear the creature above, its voice echoing down into her grave. You can't hide from yourself, Sarah. You can't escape who you are. It's time to embrace the darkness within. And then everything went black,